Okay, so originally this was going to be a Sinu scale, but about halfway through writing that script, I realized that a large part of the scale would be determined by what happens with Tom Lee. So because of that, we're going to cover Lightning Choi instead. So, how strong is Lightning Choi? Lightning Choi is a very interesting character to scale, seen as, well, he hasn't exactly done anything, and yet, thanks to some statements and comparisons made, we actually have a pretty solid idea of where Choi would fall. Now, before we get into this though, I have to reiterate that this is based on the information we currently have in the story. The story is still progressing and is thus constantly changing. Our scales are obviously going to change with it as new information is revealed. I really hate that I have to explain this so often, but I honestly should just expect that with this community. Now then, with that out of the way, let's get into it. For the scaling of this character, we will only really need to take a look at chapter 442, in which we get the interactions that tell us just how strong Choi truly was. Within this chapter, Jake asks Choi to train him, hoping to become stronger, to which Choi tells him it's impossible, saying that in comparison to the dragon that is Gabrion Kim, he is but a wild dog. How can a wild dog train the son of a dragon? Without knowing what comes next, this would establish that he is not comparable to Gabrion in any way, but then we get the conversation with Lyman, in which Choi reveals something frankly insane. We see Lyman speaking to himself, wondering when he will become the hidden dragon of Big Deal. As he says this, Choi remarks that he was just like him, that he was all talk, but he became something greater, revealing that he was the hidden dragon of Gen Zero. Now, why is this important? Well, what this does is it establishes Lightning Choi as a dark horse. For those that don't know, a dark horse is the horse you would never think to bet on in a race. It is one that has little to no information on it and can never hope to be on the level of the shining stars in the race. But unexpectedly, it wins. It runs faster than any other horse in the race and succeeds, shining brighter than all others. This is what Lightning Choi is, where typically, as he says himself, he is a wild dog. Unbeknownst to anyone else, he is a dragon. Just like the head of the Fist Gang, he is on the level of Gabrion Kim. Now, I do want to clarify, we cannot go as far as say he's on the level of the Gabrion who defeated the Great Power. That Gabrion is in a whole nother category. Rather, he would be on the level of the Gabrion who formed the Fist Gang, the Gabrion who defeated Elite. Expect a video on the timeline of Gen Zero, by the way. But Tekka, if that's the case, why can't you train Jake? Jake's the son of a dragon, he's a dragon, Gabrion's a dragon, you should be able to train him, right? Well, it's quite simple. They aren't compatible. In PTJ, there's a narrative that has been pushed since Eli's backstory. The idea that in order to grow to your full potential, you have to utilize a style that fits you. This has been expanded through pairings like Vasco and Brekdek, as well as Gonsiop and Zach, where the students have found a teacher they are wholly compatible with, someone who is just like them. Let's take Gonsiop and Zach, as it is the easiest one to analyze. Not only are they both boxers, they have both shared the same struggle, the feeling of self-hatred, the lack of pride in themselves, being a loser. In all honesty, Zach and Gonsiop sharing the same martial art almost entirely takes a backseat to their similarities as people, and it is through these similarities that they are compatible with each other. The same logically goes for Lyman and Choi, as Choi states that Lyman is just like him before he became something more. The reason Choi cannot train Jake is because they lack compatibility. The only person who could truly help Jake fully realize his potential is Gabrion himself, maybe the King of Soul, but that remains to be seen. With all of this established, it is clear to see Lightning Choi is a monster, and it makes sense why Charles removed him, seeing as Charles only removes those who pose a direct threat to his plans, and the way he goes about it depends on the type of threat they hold. Choi was viewed as a combative threat, thus his legs removed. Gabrion, on the other hand, was both a combative threat and an influence-based one. If Charles somehow managed to make it to where Gabrion could no longer fight, his influence would still remain a threat and thus he was killed. Then there are those who were not perceived as threats but handled accordingly once they became one. The best example being Baku, who was killed once he gathered information that posed a direct threat to him. But then, where did Choi fall? Well, Choi would have been viewed as strictly a combative threat. He did not hold enough influence nor did he have enough information to be a threat to Charles, so due to him being viewed as strictly a combative threat, Charles removed his feet, which were his primary way of fighting. We still have no idea how he did it, we just know that he did. More than likely, it was through a surprise attack, multiple people, or drugs. Also, side note, I'm really hoping Choi's martial art is Savate, because that's an art that doesn't get nearly enough attention and would be super cool to see. Plus, it makes sense with the whole he took off his feet, seeing as Savate strictly uses your feet and you're kicking with your shoe. It just makes sense. I mean, I would love to see that. But yeah, there you have it. That's all the scaling we have for Lighting Choi so far. He's an absolute monster of the same caliber as Gapron when he first awakened, and someone who kept said strength hidden. Obviously, things may change as the story progresses, but as of right now, he is easily one of the strongest characters within the universe of PTJ. And with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all found this informative. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next one.